Former St. Louis City police officer. He's written a book called Walking the Blue Line, and we're talking about what it's like to be a police officer in the 21st century here in St. Louis the last couple of years, and what is it like to be an African-American police officer in the last couple of years here in the region. You said to me something on the break, which is kind of interesting. You said you could make someone a career criminal as a police officer.
Yes.
What do you mean?
If I stop you for walking in the street and I tell you to do something and you look at me sideways, then I have the ability to arrest you and to make up any charge that I want to, literally. And in the book, I call it the magic pen. We were taught that police officers have the magic pen. Your word as a police officer is going to be believed over any citizen unless you have witnesses. And then even if you do have witnesses, that's debatable. But because I am the one with the power and the authority, I can make you do whatever I want you to. And if you decide not to do that, then I can punish you for not doing that. And so if I work in a particular neighborhood and a guy does something to me one time, I can arrest him, and then I can tell other officers, hey, the next time you see this guy, give him a hard time, and then give him a hard time, and another officer. So the ball just continues to roll. It continues to spiral downward for that person.
So maybe the guy really did it, or maybe the guy didn't do it.
Right, and a lot of it depends on the attitude or how that officer's feeling that day. And I'm not trying to be flippant when I say that. It's just the reality,
Right, but the flip side is also true. You could be a guy who knocked over a convenience store, and the cop arrests you, and then you can say, hey, wait a minute, the cop's just doing this to make a name for himself.
Right, that's the same thing. You're right. But my point is to say that so when these type of discussions began last year, they didn't just begin last year, but when they became so prominent last year, people essentially, commentators, whoever, essentially were like, well, you all are lying. Why are black people making such a big deal out of this? The idea was there have been years and years of people saying these kinds of things have happened, and no one has believed us because we are poor or because we are not as educated or because we live in a particular area. And again, part of my goal in writing the book was to make sure to give a voice to those kind of people as well.
You say that... Well, your experience as a police officer, and you don't pull any punches in this book, Walking the Blue Line. You think there's criticism to go around.
Yes, that's criticism for citizens as well as for police departments.
One of the things, what is it like to be a police officer? You don't necessarily see the good side of society. You see the worst of the worst every single day, every single call.
Right. No one ever calls 911 when something is going well. And so the unfortunate reality is that police officers are under constant stress, and they don't interact with people for the most part when things are going well. So police officers become jaded. If your first 5 calls in a day are a domestic dispute between a husband and wife who have lived together for 20 years and who still can't figure out how to communicate well with each other, unfortunately, you're going to get to the point where you start thinking that all people, or all couples that, from a particular area are the exact same. And so you treat all of them the exact same way.
You see parents doing terrible things to their children.
Right.
You see children doing terrible things to children.
Yes.
You see children, young adults doing terrible things to older people.
Yes.
The strong pick on the weak, and that's all before lunch.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's the truth.
Or depending on what shift, that's all before midnight or that's all before 7 a.m.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And then at any given time, anybody can pull out a gun and shoot you at any given time.
Yes.
So that's the world the police live in.
Yes. And more people need to understand that. I mean, the vast majority of people are not criminals. The vast majority of people husbands don't beat their wives. So the vast majority of mothers don't beat their children. So the vast majority of people don't understand what it's like to experience that or to live in that kind of world. So they don't understand when a police officer comes and that police officer is aggravated because, again, the last 4 calls they received were for a domestic dispute between a husband and a wife. And so in my mind, I'm calling because my husband's drunk and this is the first time he's drunk. I just want him to leave so nothing happens and he needs to sober up, not knowing that police officer just had to fight, another husband for the fifth time this
Right.
week, you know.
Right. Or somebody calls and says, "Oh my goodness, they're selling drugs on the corner again. My little Joey's trying to go to school,
Right.
and he's being harassed by the drug dealers on the corner."
Right.
And so you go to sort of harass the drug dealers who are harassing the kid, and all of a sudden, stop hassling me, man, and there you go, right down the
Right.
line. You also talk about the nature of how you get ahead in the city of St. Louis in their police department.
Yes.
Talk about that for a moment.
In order to get promoted, you have to be someone. There are a couple of different ways to get ahead in the department. Number one, police officers call it STEAM. It's who are you connected to politically? Who is your friend high up in the department that can do you a favor? Or you have to you just gain statistics. You have to make multiple arrests so you can prove to your supervisors that you are doing good work. And on the police department, good work is not helping a mother and a son learn how to communicate well with each other. On the police department, good work is making tangible arrests that bring notoriety or bring positive publicity. Police Officer of the Year is not awarded for, you know, I mean, if you save a baby, that's one thing. But if you go and you help that baby's parents figure out how to get needed resources, that's not Police Officer of the Year material. Police Officer of the Year material typically is we kicked in the door, we made these amount of drug arrests, gun arrests, those kinds of things. So if you want to be promoted on the police department, you either have to have STEAM, you have to have someone who is going to take care of you and help protect you or help make sure you get to where you want to go, or you have to make a certain number of arrests to get on someone's radar in the first place.
And you say that's a problem.
It is a problem because
Hold that thought. We're going to tell us why that's a problem after the break. Terrell Carter, our guest. The book is called Walking the Blue Line. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, online. Also your website, terrellcarter.com?
.net.
.net, terrellcarter.net. The book is called Walking the Blue Line. A police officer turned community activist provides solutions to the racial divide. More with Terrell Carter, terrellcarter.net in a moment. Big 550 KT.